polyvagal informed therapies. Dr. Porges is co-creator with Anthony of Polyvagal Music, Sonacia, we didn't take that one out, and a founder of the Polyvagal Institute. So, very warm welcome, Dr. Porges. And Anthony, and a very warm welcome to you. Over 20 years of experience in the music and entertainment industry, co-founder and CEO of Sonacia, a company developing health and wellness technology based on science, co-invented with Dr. Porges, a world-renowned behavioral neuroscientist. Co-founder of AGOIA, Ajoya, thank you, Limited, and Polyvagal Music.
No,
Sonacia, I did it again.
Okay.
Companies providing audio and music production services for various clients and projects. He has an impressive track record, created, produced, and composed music and audio content for top artists and bands, including Moby, Gwen Stefani, No Doubt, Diplo, L'Oreal, Adidas, Red Bull, and LG. Collaborator and award-winning teams, worked with Grammy award-winning producers and BAFTA award-winning production teams, achieving chart-topping hits and worldwide recognition. So, huge welcome. And just, I'm sure Anthony's going to repeat this a few times, but please have a look at their website. So that would be www.sonacia.com. And also their Instagram is Sonacia HQ.
S-O-N-O. And I'll give it over to you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. You spell Sonacia S-O-N-O-C-E-A, Sonacia. So it's sonacia.com, and you can go to our website, and we're not selling anything, just so you know. So we're not going to bombard you with anything other than information. So sonacia.com, you can sign up there, or you can go to our Instagram, which is Sonacia HQ. But we'll put a slide up at the end. So I'll let Steve begin, and then we'll crack on.
Anyway, good morning, and Anthony. It's always wonderful to share the stage with you. So you're going to see a different part of me and a different part of Anthony, because we are literally true collaborators, and we're going to describe how our unusual meeting and collaboration started. But before I start that, I want you to understand what this is all about. This is about signaling the brain to get into a state in where the brain and the body co-regulate. This is not about co-regulation with other people. This is about co-regulation within yourself. And we can only co-regulate within ourselves when we're safe enough in the context that we're in. And we're going to be demonstrating how this acoustic technology works. But before we do that, because you already know, many of you know about my work, you have to be in a safe context. How do you get into a safe context? You need to feel that nothing behind you can hurt you. You need to give up your hypervigilance. And that is not merely a wishful thought. That's why I want you to look around you. Smile at the person behind you so that you will have enough trust that when you start to experience the music, you won't worry about someone behind you.
And tell them if they want to leave.
Oh, and if at any time your body is telling you that you're feeling vulnerable or too vulnerable, just get up, move, leave. It's not offensive, so that you have permission to listen to your body, and your body will tell you what to do. Okay, so this is our journey. Now, I have had a dream, or let's say a vision. I'm on a vision quest, like we all are. But the vision quest for me was, how can I signal the brain, signal the nervous system to be safe enough so that we can be who we really are? Okay, so it's like safe enough. I'm not saying perfectly safe, but turning off that hypervigilance and defense. And we all know that therapies are helpful, social relations are helpful, but we also know that we are continuously bombarded with signals that trigger us into states in which we are no longer accessible and accessible to ourselves. So I developed, a few decades ago, the Safe and Sound Protocol with the whole motivation of using and stimulating social engagement as a co-regulatory process. That was good. It's helpful, very useful. And many of you who have become polyvagal informed emphasize that co-regulation aspect, but it's not the full story. What was missing was how do you engage that dorsal vagus in a role of restoration and restoring? How do you tell the body that it's safe enough to take care of itself? And that's why I was looking for someone on my own quest, because you have ideas, and those ideas don't mean that you can implement them. And I needed a partner. And life is always kind of, as they say, if you are welcoming to the world brings you what you need. And Anthony is what I needed. And Anthony and I really created this really interesting, and I would say totally unique collaboration. And I'm actually going to hand it over to him.
So the first thing I'd like to say is, can everybody hear Steve clearly? So that's a good start. So I just want to first of all outline what we're going to do for the next hour so that you have a understanding and you feel comfortable and you know what's coming. So we're going to talk just a little bit, a very little bit about, we don't need to describe who we are because that was done beautifully for us. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we met. We're going to talk a bit about the science, so you'll get a bit of knowledge. Not a lot of selling, I've got a friend in here who's taught me something the other night, and it's like, no selling, but we've got nothing to sell, we're here to share. Then we're going to do a musical experiential, and then we're going to do questions at the end, because at the end of the day, this conference is a lot about a lot of people talking an awful lot. And actually, you're the most important people here, because this event is for you. And we're here, we're not clinicians, we're actually a scientist and a musician, a producer, and a technologist. So actually, our sole aim is to make tools for people like you so that you can then take them to people like all of us. So that's what we're doing this morning. So that's the first thing. So, Steve, what would you like me to talk about? So basically, I met Steve a while ago at the Global Exchange Conference. I got to this space because, yes, I do all of those things, but coming out of COVID, I had a stroke. I ended up on a stroke ward. I was unable to talk, and the left-hand side of my body was not working. And leading up to that, I'd been working with a psychotherapeutic counsellor, a good friend of mine called Andrew Lovell, and he and I had been making relaxing, calming music to help people with anxiety. I didn't realise that I actually had anxiety or even had any issues or was dissociative or was really struggling with life or anything. I just thought everything was moving along, but I could see everyone around me was seeing that there was obviously something wrong with me. And that was for 46 years, so it's kind of weird. So he asked me would I make these sound baths, music for his sound baths, to which I said, definitely not. What a load of hippie crap. No way. So that's kind of like where I started. But because of COVID and nothing going on, I did end up making some beautiful music that I put over his sound baths. So that was kind of like calming music, ambient music, music without science, music that we've all been used to for thousands of years. You know, people write music, they write it in a specific way, no problem. It's got like nice melodies and it's calm, perfect. So what happened? We ended up being asked to go and present this Ajoya, A-J-O-I-A, and you can find that as well. It's Ajoya Official or AjoyaWellbeing.com, and we work in rehabilitation centres, we work in prisons, we work with schools, we work in clubs, we work in the real world. We're out there like going, in fact, after here today, I go to Manchester to do a thing called Conscious Dance Music with Ajoya, playing to 500 ravers, like proper party, full party. Anyway, it's another story.
It just shows you how pragmatic I can be when
exactly.
I want to get a project completed.
So I met Steve, we were introduced, and we got talking, and Steve loved what I was doing. I didn't know who he was, so on our first date, we went on our first date, we were kind of like, well, Steve, what do you call it? It wasn't a date, was it?
It's called Just Lunch.
It was just lunch. So we had our just lunch date, And it was a bit tricky, obviously, because Steve comes from the world of academia and I come from a creative space. And the amazing thing was...
Hey, academics are creative as well. You know?
I wasn't going absolutely. And also, creatives do have brains as well, so we can be quite academic. So Steve started to talk to me about science, and wouldn't it be wonderful if we could put rhythms of the body, things that were missing within our bodies, back in? And would that be possible? So you may be thinking, well, why would he talk to someone like me? How possibly would a musician, a producer know? Well, the other string to my bow was that I also work with technology. I'm a technologist. So one of the things I've done is been a consultant for LG, you know, all know LG, for their emerging technology in Santa Clara. I work with 360-degree sound systems, and also I'm involved with creating user interfaces and ways to basically integrate sound and visuals into different forums, whether that be entertainment or whether that be now, in this instance, into a well-being space. Do you want to go for a little bit?
Sure, I can always go. Yeah, okay. So the real question for me was, can I create a set of specifications that a person who has the technical skills can implement into music? Close. Oh, I'm being told to hold the microphone closer.
Closer to his mouth.
I was just respecting the space of the microphone. And when you hear a microphone squeak, it's a trigger, you understand. Okay. It's a metaphor of the life of most of us, but the performer sees it a little differently. Okay, so I've been looking for this idea of, can we send a signal? And what Anthony was saying, putting the rhythms back in the body. This starts with this whole idea that our nervous system regulates all the organs inside our body. And it's a feedback loop, and it creates a rhythmicity, a rhythm of digestion, a rhythm in the heart, a rhythm in all our organs, and in a sense, the fluid systems of our body. They're not static, they're rhythmic. The vascular bed is rhythmically moving. It's only when we are under severe stress, threat, and disease are the rhythms reduced. And we call that chronic stress, we call that chronic illness, we call it burnout. And I said, wow, what if we could tell the brainstem to put the rhythms back in the brain? And there are models for this. You've heard a lot about vagal nerve stimulation over the past decade. And you think you're stimulating the vagus. Let me tell you what you're really stimulating. You're sending a signal up through the vagus to the brainstem and saying, hey, my organs are doing fine. They're sending the signal back there, and now the brainstem gets that and now sends the feedback down to the organs, and that's how the vagal nerve stimulators work. I had the idea is, what if we can send a signal through an acoustic channel of the rhythms of the body, and the brainstem heard those, felt them, and put the organs back online, back thick. You also give me a cue that you want to talk.
No, I was just saying, like this. There we go.
Yeah, tactile hypersensitivity of the oral motor area. Not used to this, but okay, so the idea is, can you take a technology that is much more scalable and accessible than purchasing vagal nerve stimulators or having a vagal nerve implant or electrical stimulation? Can you take another technology that will signal the body about these slow infrasound rhythms of the body? Some of these rhythms are in like 30 to 60 seconds. And can you get that into the body through the use of modulation of audible sounds? And that's what I met this talented guy, and I'm now trying to do, basically it's the Karate Kid model. I'm trying to tell him what the underlying principles are, so I have him polish the car and paint the walls. And basically, I said, listen to the Ramones. You might have heard of the Ramones. It's punk music, and it has a tempo of over 200 beats per minute. So I said, Anthony, listen to the Ramones. Tell me how you feel. And the idea was to teach them that tempo was our heart rate and that we could gain control over the heartbeat by modulating tempo. Okay? And the second one I asked them to listen to was Overture to Candide by Leonard Bernstein, because the adjacent measures are in different time signatures, which meant that you could use time signature to basically affect predictability of what the music sounded like. So I wanted him to get triggered, literally, of those tools, because I wanted to take him on a journey of challenges of how could we embed the body's rhythm into music. And now it's his story, because I assume these technologies were off the shelf.
So for those people who don't know who the Ramones are, and those people that don't know what Leonard Bernstein's Overture for Candide is, in another way we can put it is if you imagine something like drum and bass, or really fast techno, or thrash metal, or these kinds of things. What Steve's actually saying to me, these kinds of music are metaphors for like life, so unpredictable. That's what Steve was trying to explain to me. Music that's unpredictable, music that's incredibly fast, music that's causing you to be on edge. And these musics, see, I'm not doing what you were telling me to do then. These musics are musics that make us feel like on edge. So basically what Steve was saying is we're not trying to do that. That was what he was trying to explain. So what he was asking me to do over the next, for 18 months we've been working on this, was to basically try and, he was asking me to do something that for me was really, really difficult. He was asking me to take the building blocks of composition and literally throw them away. So basically he gave me a set of algorithms, a set of figures, and we looked at the science. So we basically built a technology that uses music as a portal. So it's very, very important. So Sonocea, S-O-N-O-C-E-A, Sonocea is a technology that uses music as the portal. The music is just the delivery mechanism. What is going on is happening underneath the bonnet. Does that make sense? Okay, a little example could be a bit like, it's not, so just to be very clear, Sonocea is a technology, but it's delivered in a kind of way like if you imagine a pill. You know those capsules that in England we have paracetamol, in America they have Advil. So imagine a paracetamol or Advil. The outside, the capsule is the plastic, and that's the music, and what's inside is the powder. That's the technology. That's what we've created, that we've embedded into the music and into the auditory functions.
What I wanted it to be was a stealth intervention, because I wanted the cortex put to sleep. The cortex is an inhibitory organ, and what it does is it inhibits our brainstem from doing its foundational survival responsibilities. You call that burnout, you call it stress. And it's because the cortex is doing it. Guess what we think we can do? We think through our cortical means we can tell the brainstem to do what it should do. And that's why talk therapy doesn't work in certain situations. That's why if you're depressed, being told, don't be depressed. Or what do you have to be anxious about? Not a very effective strategy, because it's basically feeding into the same mechanism.
So, Steve, we're just going to have a little chat. We need to really, because time is so short, we're going to sort of fly through, and I want you to experience what we've created rather than talk about it, and then us to talk about it. So we're actually just going to fly right forward, and Steve's going to go straight to some slides now.
I'm going to go straight to slides, but I will tell you, my visceral self would rather just kind of chat and be accessible. But okay, let's get on. Put the professor hat on. Let's go over here.
Okay, so you've got like 8 minutes, Steve.
Okay. So, now I want the slides up. So how do we get the slides? They're up? Okay. So that's our title of it. Disclosures, don't worry about that. Don't want to waste time. Now, the next step is to put glasses on, you see? And
I'll do this for you.
no, I can put, once I get the glasses on. Okay, now you see the persona is going to change. I put glasses on. I'm standing in front of a monitor, looking at my teleprompter. I don't like this. I'd much rather spend 2 hours talking. I'd rather do interviews than do presentations because I like the connection. Okay, so I'm going to read, okay? Sonosia technology infuses endogenous biological rhythms. This is the key word. Our body makes rhythms. And when our rhythms have nice structure, it's when we're healthy. And when those rhythms have structure, it gives us permission to feel safe. When the structure is disrupted, meaning disrupting homeostasis, it not only gets in the way of healing, restoration, but gets in the way of feeling safe enough to be who we are. So what we're doing is exploring and expanding the power of acoustic signals to seamlessly support health and optimize experience. See, these words are carefully selected because they really go into our dreams and our expectations of what humanity could be like if we were able to actualize the properties of our species. We don't need another form of evolution. We don't need another form of higher consciousness. We need to give permission to those foundational structures to really do their job. And then what would our lives be like? What would the social world be like? So what we want to do is minimize the disruptive impact of chronic stress and functional disorders. We know we're all being affected by triggers, but the issue is fine, but it's the recovery and the flexibility that we want to enhance. So the protocols are engineered, so this is very science-oriented, to be adjunctive therapeutic tools to support recovery from mental and physical disorders. That's our first probe. The next one is to make it scalable and useful for everyone in society. So it would be like basically listening to music, like Anthony, his wife, Sue, and I listen to the music to sleep. And sleep is an important window into how we are living within our current world. So this is the concept of homeostasis. Many people think homeostasis is a set point. It's not. It's a dynamic system in which our organs are regulated with rhythmicity through a feedback loop, through the sensory pathways and motor pathways of the autonomic nervous system. A lot of this has to do with the vagus. And vagal nerve stimulators, as I mentioned, are basically telling that control center, the brainstem, that everything is okay in those organs, and now the brainstem sends more okay messages to those organs. So don't think that the vagal nerve stimulator is stimulating the organs. It's signaling the brainstem to stimulate the organs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't get there a different way, and that's what we're all about. So we're signaling that autonomic nervous system and signals of safety. And this is what I had done before with the Safe and Sound protocol, which signals of safety for cues of co-regulation. So people would spontaneously engage each other, look at each other, have different intonation of voices. But that's only part of our journey. The other part of our journey is a neuroception of safety in which we can self-regulate, where we are safe enough that we don't need to interact. We trust the world enough to allow the body to do what it's supposed to be doing. And that utilizes a part of the autonomic nervous system that in polyvagal theory has been most associated with shutting down and defense. And that's when it's not doing its health-giving bit. But the dorsal vagal circuit is part of our health-giving system. It's part of our gut regulation. And many of you who are doing work in the world of trauma, you know where trauma shows itself subdiaphragmatically in the gut. And it doesn't mean that everyone who has gut problems has had a severe trauma effect, but we know that if you have severe life trauma, it will be shown in your gut. So what we're trying to say is we are developing a technology that signals the body, or literally signals the brainstem, to allow the body to self-regulate, to, in a sense, recover its healthful restorative processes. And in a sense, it signals the nerves. We don't have to do this. We know what it is already. And now the magic secret, the potent is the understanding that sounds have always been used to entrain the body. And we know that high frequencies cause seizure. So high frequency sounds or lights. So we don't want high frequency. And we know that a frequency like the Ramones, or what Anthony's going to do later this afternoon, dances are faster movement. And many of you are movement-oriented intervention therapists. And movement is another way of entraining autonomics, but it's not the way of entraining growth and restoration. I should say growth, relaxation and restoration. Because movement requires sympathetic, and sympathetic is part of our mobilization. It's metabolically costly, and it's a way of, if we do it with music, we turn it off from being movement with defense to movement with sociality. But it's still movement, and that doesn't allow our body to heal. So we want to think about the power of infrasound. And these are slow rhythms. And all we need to do is think of the baby rocking, and that should, there it is. So all we need to do is really rock with the baby. And how do we feel when we rock with the baby? The baby's nervous system is getting that rhythm through the movement of blood over sensory receptors, blood pressure receptors, and the body feels calm. And how do we feel when we see the waves or sitting on a rubber raft without any fear of falling off? So the goal of Sonosia technology is to enable people to feel the movement like you're floating on a raft without any fear of falling off the raft. Because I know for many of you, if you start visualizing yourself floating in a raft, you'll start having that smile, and then your cortex will come on and say, what if I fall off? And suddenly you lose it. And what we're trying to say is, we're giving you the rules, we're sending the signals to the body to give your nervous system the rules and knowledge that it can't fall off. So this is what Anthony was challenged with. This is a slide of heart rate variability on the bottom bit and respiration on the top. And the whole idea was that you can see different rhythms in the heart rate. I told Anthony, I sent him this slide. I said, the brainstem is creating these rhythms in the heart. You're going to become a brainstem. You're going to be a composer, and the composer is going to be like the brainstem. And so this is what we did, and it's not merely rhythms of breathing. And everyone in this room knows the power of breathing. And I'm going to tell you that's just this, that's low level. That's important, but I'll tell you where we're going. And so you can see this is like what's called resonant breathing. And you can see that when you breathe, this is from Heart Math, and they've been supporting the notion that if your breathing is rhythmic, you start getting these very nice heart rate rhythms. And you see the difference in the heart rate structure when a person is frustrated versus a state of appreciation. And also you can see that it's coherent across the autonomic nervous system. You see the breathing pattern, you see the heart rate pattern, and you see the blood pressure. So the nervous system knows how to integrate and coordinate if given the signals. And in Heart Math and many other breathing technologies, it's all based on breath. But we're going beyond breathing. We're going into the rhythms of our vascular system and the rhythms of our GI tract. And we can start looking at this. On the left, that's the rhythm of a normal gut. And you can see it's relatively structured at about 30 seconds and 20 to 30 seconds. And you see it has a high amplitude. On the right, you see two clinical conditions. One is tachygastria, which means the rhythms are too fast. So transit time, basically it's diarrhea. And then you see bradygastria, and that's going to result in constipation. And you start seeing that the neural regulation of the gut is manifesting these rhythmicity or not. And here's the one that I kind of found really interesting, that even the uterus in a non-pregnant woman has the same peristaltic rhythm as the gut. And we can think about that a lot as even intrauterine environment or, again, health. These rhythms are in the body from the get-go. And we get rid of them, we dampen them when we're under, in a sense, external demands. We depress the homeostatic function. And so basically what we're doing is using music as a vehicle that's processed by our technology to signal the nervous system, which is already familiar with these rhythms, now to allow the rhythms to be expressed. And we can think of, basically in your world, we can think of a clinical strategy as having both a passive pathway and an active one. The passive pathway is literally to enable the body to be accessible to the therapy that you're doing, the work that you're doing, and that's what we're working for. That's what we want to contribute to our community, and that is to enable your clients to be more accessible to therapy. We are not trying to cure them with the music. We are trying to make them accessible to the therapy. And now you can do your hard work, and the body of your clients will not be fighting it. And here is the QR code. And now we are ready to go into an experiential mode.
Wow. So yes, our website is sonacia.com, so nice and easy. And you can sign up there, and we can keep you updated on what we're going to be doing over the next couple of years. So we're actually got 30 minutes to go, so that's beautiful timing for us, because normally we talk a lot, but we're not talking a lot today.
No,
so
no need to be anxious.
No need. So what we're going to do now is we're going to play you a few examples of our clinical protocol that we have created specifically for clinicians and people in the mental health world. This is available. It is available through Unite, and I think you might be able to find them in that room later, so you can go and chat to them about it. And if they don't know the answers, I'm sure they'll contact us, and we can then respond to you. So the protocol is called Rest and Restore Protocol, and it's a 5-hour protocol that's in 10 30-minute segments, and it works in a way of, in the same way as somatic experiences, is we titrate the program so that you, like Steve described, you move from a very gentle rocking into a much more safe rocking. Steve, would you want to describe it differently?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, so first of all, everything in therapy is about predictability in the context of delivering therapy. So this is actually an interesting dialectical discussion that we had. So I'm trying to impose on Anthony that the composition of the musical vehicle needs to be predictable. And he, as a composer, says, no one's going to listen to the same theme over and over again. I said, the nervous system will love that. And it became really interesting. He says, they're going to get bored. I said, that's the point. The point is to not have that curiosity to run all over the place or of unpredictability.
I would put it a different way. I wouldn't say that you'd get bored. It actually is, if you think about it like this, so I listen to Sonacia every single night. I listen to it in the day. I listen to it when I'm on the train. I listen to it before I go to meetings. So I use it in my life. I am a user. I'm a Sonacia user. So what Steve was actually talking about is once your body becomes comfortable with what it's listening to, Sonacia works in a really clever way that your ears actually stop listening. You will understand when you use it yourself, and your body actually starts to hear what's going on. And so, for example, I physically feel that my body is doing the listening. It sounds a bit weird. You'll experience it and you might get it. So we're going to start now. We're going to go straight into it. So I'm going to play you a few examples. The first example I'm going to play you is one of the themes from Rest and Restore Protocol called Spring's Prelude. And Spring's Prelude is a piece of music. And the first piece that you're going to hear is just the music. So here we go. So I'm going to play it for 30 seconds and then stop it. So this is Spring's Prelude, the music. Okay, so what that is what we're doing here is we're going to step you through something called an examples of entrainment, so that your body gets entrained to the music. So that's music on its own, just normal music. Yeah, it's composed by me. It's got nice sounds in it. Yeah, it's got a feeling of like it's not sad, it's not happy, it's not angry, it's not urgent. It's just a theme. Yeah. Right.
Think of it as the guardrail. You hear the theme, you know where it's going, you will always hear the theme. So the predictability is that you'll always be able to come home.
So this is a second example. So we're just stepping through this very, very gently. We're going to have 3 examples, and then I'm going to play it for about 10 minutes, much further into the protocol, where we can just close our eyes if you want. If you want to leave, you're welcome to leave, of course. If you feel that it's upsetting you in any way, again, there's people from Master Events, and there's definitely people in the room that will be able to regulate you and help you at the back of the room. I'm seeing people with pink lanyards on. They're from there. So you can go and talk to them if you're feeling strange. It's important we make sure that everyone is comfortable and safe. That's why I say that very loud and clear. So this is the second example. So this is the first step. And I just want you to see what happens. So that's the second example. Some of you might have noticed the lady coming onto the stage there, and I will share what she said because I think it's important. Sonosphere technology has been designed to be listened to on headphones, and as you can imagine, we are in a box, a T-shaped box. So acoustically, it's very, very, very echoey, and so you're not really getting the full extent of what it sounds like, to be honest. She was just saying it's very loud, it's very reverberating. That's the room. That is not what we have created, just to be very clear. So I wouldn't normally have to caveat that, but they have put us in a very unusual room to do a music audio demonstration. But hey, that's what it is.
Cut back the volume a little.
I will. No. Okay, so this is a third example. So I think we might have got a better level there. That's not so like the Ramones, but slow. Okay, so what we're going to do for the next sort of 10 minutes is just play you spring prelude and just give you a little example of where it ends up. So here we go then. So just feel free to close your eyes. If you do want to lay on the floor, feel free. If you want to do a handstand, go for it, no problem. However you find it most relaxing to listen to music. So here we go. So we'll see you in 10 minutes. Here it comes. So I'm just going to start to fade it out now. I wish we had more time so that we could actually really experience this properly, but that's just a tiny short segment. So Sonosia technology is hopefully going to be something that's going to be accessible to everybody. In the first instance, it's going to be available as, like we said, a clinical protocol. But we would really love to find out from you what you thought, how it made you feel. I think we should just focus maybe on just that last one, because I think up until that point the sound was a bit off. But I'll let Steve ask you questions, because I know he's good at this bit.
So before we actually try to tell you what it is, I want you to tell us what you think it is and what it did to you.
And this is like a Q&A, so you're welcome to ask us any questions
Yeah.
about anything you want, within reason.
My curiosity is really about your actual reactions to it. So let's hear some of that.
So they're just running from the back with these microphones. And I think at this point it's a nice time for us to say hello to everybody online. Dr. Porges and I are very pleased that you've joined us, and those that are watching it on replay. Hello, nice to see you. Thank you for watching.
So there's...
Hi, yes, I have a comment from someone online who's...
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
No, your microphone's screeching. It's interfering with these microphones, so why don't you come to me? Well, I'll tell you what, let's ask questions in the room, and then if you've got online questions, come to the front. Yeah, you can turn that off, that mic there. Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. It's okay.
Hello, thank you so much for that. I am a psychotherapist and a neurofeedback practitioner, but I also have both a question and an observation about auditory processing. So my question and my experience is I deal with a lot of people who have auditory and sensory processing issues. So for people for whom sound may be an issue, does the sort of scientific part of this work? Does the pill still work? Because my experience, so music like this can typically make me quite nauseous. It did at this point, but because your frequencies are a bit higher, I could tolerate it and I could stay here, but I definitely became nauseous, which I reckon is just the nervous system resetting. So I understand that.
You said nauseous, right?
Nauseous, yes.
Okay, that actually means it's working. Because it's really going into the your question, I'll separate the questions. The issue with auditory processing, the Safe and Sound Protocol was designed for that, but this is not designed for auditory processing issues. But the fact that you felt a gut reaction meant the signaling was working. The question is whether that signal was welcomed by your body at that point in time. And so the protocol that we've developed is, like Anthony said, it's titrated. It has 10 different sessions. And think of it as a neural exercise of exposing and getting used to. Titration, pendulation, these are concepts that you're familiar with. So that as the nervous system becomes familiar with the signaling, it becomes more welcoming. And so for you, it was a big jump, because on the longer music was really quite enhanced one. And your nervous system may not be ready for that yet. But your signal back to me that you felt nauseous, I don't view that as bad.
It would also be important to notice that this room is like a big box, so we're like sitting in a speaker, so it's really boomy, this room. We've actually asked them to take all of the bottom end off of our microphones, and we still sound really boomy.
Yeah, okay.
Really weird room. So, would you like to take this? I'll tell you what.
Yeah, you can share mine. She's going to the next talk.
Hi. Hello?
Hello.
Hello. I found it, I'll try and make it two very simple questions actually. I did find it relaxing, but I just wondered how important is it that it's very repetitive?
Yeah, it's very important because it's predictability. As your body starts to predict, it's the guardrails. It's like the theme is predictable, the rhythms are predictable, our homeostatic system is predictable.
This isn't music like any music you've ever heard before. Yeah, you recognize it as music. There is repetition. Within our protocol that's with Unite, which I told you about in the other room, the Rest and Restore protocol, that's why we're creating different themes. So the whole idea is not that you're like, oh yeah, I really love this music. I can't wait to listen to the music. It's there to actually help you. It's an adjunctive tool to be used by therapists, by clinicians, alongside other things. So the repetition is really, really important.
The other quick thing is that, I don't know if this is my perception, but it appeared that sometimes the tempo was changing. Was that my perception, or did it really speed up at times?
Well, if you remember, I can just answer quite simply, your perception is correct.
Well, the reason I say is that actually I found it slightly, I don't want to say irritating, but I mean, I got used to it, but it was interesting that it did affect me.
So,
when it sped up?
No, the important thing to remember is that this is not designed to be listened to for like 6 minutes or 2 minutes or 1 minute. It's designed to be listening for a long time. So if you imagine that you're on a beautiful beach somewhere, oh my God, I'd like to be on one of those, in a lovely swing, and we're just laying there. And the longer you lay in that swing, you become relaxed and used to that swing, shall we say. That's kind of what's going on here.
Okay, thanks.
One of the elements. I don't know how to really... You're the one with the mic. I can't give this one away as well, otherwise we won't have a mic.
Hi, yeah, there's a couple of comments online. So, again, people have said that it's amazing that they can already feel it online immediately, that they could feel a tickle in their ears and warm across their chest and some muscle relaxation. So, again, the online people are feeling it. But there was a question by a music therapist who says, I'm a music therapist and clinical lead, and I can feel myself calming. I can see this working in our adoption service before therapy. Is it possible to sign up for a trial, or how would someone get more involved with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can either go to our website, which is sonacia.com, and you can sign up there. In fact, that's the best place to go, actually. sonacia.com, and then we will give you some information as to where you'll be able to access this. Like I said, it is available through Unite. So, but they don't seem to have any literature or anything around for you, so I can't point you towards that, unfortunately. They have a stand, though, I'm told, next door.
The part, both Anthony and I agree that it functions better as a private one with headset, or we use a sound bar ourselves at home, and we sleep with it. And it's very predictable, but we're not hyper-vigilant while doing it. We've given that all up. The other part from that feedback was the feeling, I believe the person was feeling the rhythms moving in their body, and I think many of you will feel that. And part of what you're dealing with is feeling the magnetic aspect of, this is a simple part of it, there's a lot more in it, of the rhythmic tempo changes that are going up and down. And those of you who may feel uncomfortable are trying to figure out what the beat is. And if the beat is constantly changing, it becomes, let's say, a little disruptive to you.
And the other comment online was, is there any way that lay people can use this by themselves?
We will definitely be releasing Sonacia as a commercial product at some time, yes.
Let me kind of qualify that. The clinical product is for people like you who are in the room. The commercial one is scalable for everyone, but it will not have the intensity that we have in the clinical product. So it'll be dialed back. So it will be kind of like putting you into a calm movement, but not at the extremes.
So we're in a research and development phase at the moment, and we're working on everything from sleep products to products for the neurodivergent community to music for animal welfare, including for dogs, for cats, for horses. So as we all know, we are all mammals and we all have very similar systems. So with Dr. Porges' wonderful brain and knowledge, we are able to adapt Sonosphere technology for lots and lots of different applications. So the future's quite exciting for us. But yeah, right now it's just available, like I said, through Unite as a clinical product. Yeah, go for it.
Yes, hi. Hi, I'm an Australian psychiatrist, and we now have available legally access to psychedelic-assisted therapies. And the protocol for psychedelic-assisted therapy is 8 hours, of which music's an integral part. My question is this going to be available or a protocol adaptable to psychedelic-assisted therapies?
Okay. The psychedelic world, my vision was that it enables the body to be more accessible for the psychedelic experience with less adverse effects. However, my colleagues, when they've listened to this, have said maybe we don't need psychedelics. And I will also tell you about the clinical trials that we have in progress. One is to kind of document that listening to Sonosphere is a provocation, can be used as a provocation test for oxytocin, that will trigger a release of oxytocin, which is one of the motivations why people are using psychedelics, is to get that physiological change. So we think we're getting into the same channel. And I'll give you one other quote from a person that you all know, Dick Schwartz, IFS, Internal Family Systems. He heard it and he says, hey, Steve, I know what this is doing. It's putting the protectors asleep. And in my own arrogance, I said, Dick, no, not really. They're repurposing the protectors.
And just to add to that, that's a really good line in. So I'm a massive fan personally. I found the IFS parts therapy was what, of all the therapies I've ever done, was the one that helped me. And it was quite a struggle with my therapist to put my protectors in the room and say, no, just wait over there. So this is designed to be used with things like IFS. This is perfect to work alongside it as a setup. So that's a really good point that we don't often bring up, but yeah.
Thank you for, I'm over here.
Hello.
Thank you both for your time and the experience today. I found myself at the beginning feeling very anxious. In my heart rate went up, and I noticed it was difficult to breathe. And then right towards the end, I felt the release begin to happen. And so that was my feedback for you. And then the second piece of this is a question. My daughter was just diagnosed with POTS, which is an autonomic nervous condition. I'm wondering if you have had experience around this using as a treatment modality for that.
So both your points are really quite relevant to the motivation behind developing this. So I can't say that it will be helpful in let's say, treating POTS, but theoretically it should. Okay, so you're really on board with that, because POTS is dysautonomia. The feedback circuits aren't working, and what we're trying to do is rejuvenate the feedback circuit. Now, your bit with anxiety is really another part of it, because it's a sense of really getting a degree of predictability so that the defenses can be turned off. And if your body basically needs more. And then it can trust. It's basically a visceral trusting is what you're experiencing. And if you said near the end, you start to feel it. And think about it, that was only like 5 or 6 minutes. And in your life, as a person who is more hypervigilant, more cautious, that's really a remarkable short time period.
So would you say a protocol like this, I know this one is specifically designed for clinicians, would this be a protocol then if you were to have a client use this protocol, you're saying at 30-minute intervals, is that correct?
Yeah, initially that would be right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, it will be titrated on what the client or patient can tolerate. Because there will be people, and we all know, that are hypersensitive And like even for you, you experienced a degree of hypersensitivity, but your body was very welcoming. For others, it will just be, can't go there right now. And predictability becomes important.
So I'm aware we're at the end of our session now, and it's a super busy day. So I don't know where to look.
I'm on stage next.
Oh, so Steve says he's on stage next, so we can go a little longer if you're up for it. So is there any other one?
I got the microphone.
Hello.
I'm sorry, I'm not a therapist, I'm a teacher, so I was very interested in the school part. I'm a math teacher, and it triggers a lot of anxiety in the students having a math class. So I would like something to make the students more receptive for the math.
So let me kind of really say, I see a great use of it in education because it creates a physiological state of accessibility to learn. And as a teacher, what is the major problem is biobehavioral state regulation. And if the child can be safe enough to be who they are, then the spontaneous curiosity and desire to learn can emerge.
We're in the process of, as part of the R&D, to create versions of Sonosia that are specifically for focus, specifically for performance, all based on different algorithms. So we have a colleague who is using it when the children at primary school are coming in after playground or lunchtime break, and he puts it on for them just for like 10 minutes, and he says the difference in his class of like 38-year-olds is, not 38, like 38-year-olds, 38-year-olds, yeah, that's what I meant, that was a bit weird, that's a weird primary school, it's incredible, like much more focused, much more calm, and actually they call it the feeling music. Can we have the feeling music? So children are describing it as feeling music, which is amazing.
One of the major themes that we all talk about at this meeting is numbness. And numbness is really meaning the feedback loops of the autonomic nervous system have been downregulated. And the consequences are problems in the autonomic nervous system and also above, meaning your cortical bit is defensive. This is really targeted at that numbness. We're going to have to stop because they have to prepare for the next talk.
So thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you.